Welcome back, everybody, to our Big Brother Canada discussion. I mean, it's all actually this week, it's Survivor One World discussion because that's what the week was, really. Two teams on the same island. But how's everybody feeling about the first two episodes?
I'm a lot more pleased than I was when I originally watched their intro videos.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I do actually. I'm finding it hard to dislike the cast, honestly. Like, I have people I don't like Beth, but she's playing hard, so, like, I can't really fault her for anything.
It's also kind of a big shock for me because I haven't watched Big Brother Canada since the first season. So I'm automatically just loving the show a lot more than normal because it's not Big Brother US. So
Yeah, same. I've never watched Big Brother Canada, so this is like a whole new adventure for me, especially now that they've like switched it up and they're playing in teams, which is super different for the Big Brother world. It's, switching, getting my mindset into like the Big Brother game aspect is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I don't hate them as much as I seem like I did on the cast assessments. They're all right for the most. I'm glad we didn't get to see too much of Kyle because he's the one I don't think I like, and he really didn't get too much airtime in the first two episodes. So withholding judgment, still thinking my call on that one's gonna be right, but we'll see.
This Big Brother house is baller too. Like, holy shit.
That first challenge hit too. That first challenge, you don't see shit like that on Big Brother US.
No, you see it on Survivor.
Yeah. Maybe they're taking notes.
I mean, it seems like they are. And also, I mean, I feel like the bar is always so low with the BBUS seasons that anything is going to be more entertaining than that, honestly, especially this last one, because that was not entertaining at all.
Hater.
Well, I mean, if it's shit, I'm going to hate on it. Sorry, Days.
He doesn't like the smell of cow shit.
No, I don't. Well, I guess we can start with the twist, Days, because I know you want to talk about it.
I don't have anything bad to say about it. I just knew right off the bat when they announced that it was teams that you were going to hate it.
But see, I don't hate it because actually, if you go back to that Big Brother podcast, the short-lived Big Brother podcast, I said that they're probably going to have to play Survivor if they're going to change things up. So
that's fair. And just with teams, I feel like it, which I know this is not how it's panning out, but my original thought was by going the team route, you were creating big alliances automatically.
Yeah,
I know you hate big alliances.
Yeah,
that right there. I feel like it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how long they make them play in teams, because I feel like you have usually no choice, but when you're playing a team-based game, you have to try to build some sort of unity within your team to make your team stronger. So their strategy is, well, if we're playing in teams, we need to get rid of the weakest, but a Big Brother strategy would not be to get rid of your weakest player. It's to keep your weak ones and get rid of the strong ones, right? So it'll be interesting to see how their dynamics go together, and with them staying in the same bedroom, they're going to get very close with their own teammates. And
Jed and Tyshawn said, fuck that right off the bat.
Well, but him and Tyshawn, God, why can I not remember how to say his name? Is it Tyshawn? Tyshawn. They made that pact like before anything even happened. It was like the second they came in the house, they were like, oh, another black dude, let's be the undercover brothers. Okay, we're a team.
Yeah, I actually
That's fair.
They talked about it on the feed, and Tashawn was worried he was going to go in and be the black guy because there's always just one black guy. So I think that's why him and Josh had a conversation, because Josh didn't want to go in and be the gay guy because there's always just one gay guy. So I think that's why it helps when a cast is this diverse, because then you don't have to feel like that. You can actually talk to people that you're used to talking with.
It is a very diverse cast, which I like to see, even though the majority of them are like pretty social media Instagrammer type people. They're still diverse in their own ways. So
I mean, they seem pretty down to earth, chill people for Instagram model type folks too. So I
Maybe
can't
it's a
knock
Canadian
them
thing.
too bad. Yeah. It's got to be it.
Because it really isn't that much vanity going on. But my one gripe with the twist days, and I told you in the comments that I just didn't like that the first week there's no HOH, there's no veto. So they're basically playing a bootleg Survivor. And they do this because they want somebody to go home in the first 2 episodes every year, even though the fans hate that. So I don't know why the franchise consistently does this. But that is what happened once again.
I think it's also important to look at the team captains. And like, in my opinion, based on the intro videos, before we actually get into the episodes, those are 2 of the more likable people, at least in my opinion, 2 of the more relatable, normal people that Canada voted as team captains. And their reaction to watching the people walk into the house says a lot. I mean, I hate harping on the casting, but it says a lot about it too, because they're like Kiefer's like, how am I going to get along with these people? They all look like models. They're all so beautiful. And like, I'm sorry, but only like a small percentage of the population actually looks like that. So I feel like this might actually backfire on Kiefer and Tina. Who it sucks because they're literally were 2 of my favorites going into the house, and I was glad to see him pick this captains, but now I'm thinking it's exactly what you just said, Nick. People gravitate to people you can relate to sometimes, and that's why a diverse cast is important, because if you find someone who shares similar things with you that can just relate to you on a different level than other people, it helps to have someone like that. And I'm not sure that maybe Kiefer and Tina have that, maybe with each other, but not with anyone else.
Do you think it also puts a target on their backs to the other people in the house that Canada immediately voted for them to be the captains?
It has to, especially when they look different too. They don't look like the rest of the cast.
I think it depends on how much the Canadian audience has an effect on this game. I think they said that they would be having more votes or something like that. So yeah, that makes a big difference. But I love them as captains. When they first announced it, I was like, thank you, Canada, for just liking real people.
Agreed.
And I can get down with that.
And even though there's no HOH, it's kind of like there's a double HOH because both the captains were safe. And it didn't matter which team won the competition. Neither one of them was going to be on the block. And then Tina even went further to have the power to be able to make that deciding vote if there was a tie, which would be an HOH's responsibility anyway. So it's kind of like Canada just voted who they wanted to be in charge right off the bat.
Yeah, kind of. But my problem still is, though, that the people that were on the block, I mean, there were 6 of them. They signed up to play Big Brother, and they're ending up playing a bootleg Survivor for a week. I don't like it. And the solution is
no chance to play.
I know. And the solution is, well, I don't understand why they have to start this show on a Wednesday. They have in the US, it's Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday. In Canada, it's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Why not just start the show on a Sunday or Monday, and you can have a full week? I don't understand why they don't do that. Well, we'll go over the teams next. I have them written somewhere. I have so many.
And the team staying in the same bedrooms, like being forced to room with those people, it really does more than people might realize. Like those bonds are going to form, and it's going to cause somewhat of a ripple effect for the entire game.
That's when the conversations are going to happen. Middle of the night when everybody's sleeping. And plus, when you're secluded to a room with just your teammates, it makes it very easy to have those team conversations without somebody from the other team interrupting or walking in unexpectedly.
Yeah. Well, Tina's team Destiny, I call them Team Boring on my little thing because they're definitely the boring team. We got Deshaun, we got Kyle, we got Beth, we got Austin. At least there's Victoria and Tara, I guess. But thoughts on Team Destiny?
I mean, they may be boring, but they won the challenge.
Yeah, but I mean, we see on the challenge, people win challenges, but the show is boring as hell, and that's what I don't want to happen.
Tashawn's going to get in a showmance for sure now.
I mean, I can see it.
He got put with all the single chicks, like, and it's the team like dynamic is weird, like the way the teams are broken up.
Well, the other
awkward to do a schoolyard pick too.
Yeah.
I mean, it just like, especially for the captains, you're putting them in this position where they have to choose people that they don't know. They don't know these people. Obviously, somebody has to be last pick for each team and last pick overall. And that, I think, immediately causes some sort of, I mean, that you have to feel some type of way about being the last one chosen, you know? I don't know who you're
I
going to put
like.
that on, but the captain.
I loved Braden's response to being picked last, though. Just kind of laid out on the couch. Who are you gonna pick? I liked it. I think he took it with jest.
Yeah, but what else
They know what's happening.
You know, he's not going to sit there and make a big to do about it the first hour they're in the house.
See,
I mean,
that sucks more
some
for
people
Tina.
might.
That sucks more for Tina than it did for Kiefer, because Tina actually had to make the last pick, and the person who actually has to pick last is picking who gets picked last by the other team. And Tina kind of said that. She's like, God, I hate picking last, because if you're dead last, Kiefer's like, oh, well, I would have picked you. I wouldn't have left you last. He can always take that out, but Tina actually had to say you are the weakest link. Goodbye, kind of thing.
The other
they
team
definitely got the weaker team, but overall they did better. Even like, Victoria obviously won it for all of them, but I think overall their team was stronger in that. And that could have been a part of like the extra stuff being put in the buckets. And
I don't agree that their team was stronger in that challenge, because it was really Victoria versus two people in the end, and Victoria was the one that pulled it out. But I do think the whole portions of who they chose did help. Or I guess maybe Victoria's acting helped not get a heavier bucket. I do just want to say the other team is Jetchen, Latoya, Josh, Julie, Rohan, and Braden with Kiefer.
Socially, that seems like a very strong team.
Competitively, they're weaker, though.
I think so, too. I mean, you have Josh and Julie dropped second and third. So right there's like almost half their team. Rohan and Braden were really the only ones that stuck it out. I mean, Latoya, she dropped 8th, so that wasn't that bad, but I don't think they were stronger in that competition.
I was expecting more out of Latoya in this competition. We didn't get to see her bucket fill, but at first glance, she seemed like she was going to be one of the physically stronger females in the house. So I would have liked to get a better idea of how much weight was added to her bucket, maybe comparatively to like Victoria and some of them, because she's a police officer and she looks really in shape. So I was really surprised that she dropped as soon as she did.
Well, she started off light because they fill the buckets based on proportions, I guess, by their weight. But I'm not going to knock them, because I would have lasted maybe 20 minutes max. But I did see some really good strategies, the whole squatting down, lowering that base and holding that ring down. Some were just holding straight out, and that's a great way to kill your arms right off the bat.
Did you like Kiefer's strategy of just doing everybody, or did you like Tina's strategy of going after the bigger people?
I couldn't tell how it really affected, because after like the first 3 choices, we didn't see it really.
I thought about this. Kiefer had the better strategy mentally, because in a prolonged challenge like this, you can just slam the heavy hitter real quick, but in a challenge that's going to be an endurance-based challenge, adding a little bit to everybody's and it makes it exponentially harder as time goes on. It actually gets proportionally harder for the entire team. So getting a little bit of extra weight into everybody's stuff early, it is the game theory optimal way to play that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's a social aspect in it too. Like if you're just divvying it out to everybody and not just focusing on one person, you're not saying to that person, hey, I want to be your target for next week. So
we didn't do ups and downs, but is there anybody that went up for you the most since the whole cast reveal last week? I mean, for me, it was Victoria. I think she stood out by far. We thought she was going to be dead in the water, and she was the MVP of the first episode.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't say that anybody went up or down. I'll say that I don't dislike Rohan as much as I did.
We didn't really see him do a whole lot, though. I don't really have a feel on him yet because we haven't really seen him. I mean, he looked pissed when he wasn't chosen as a captain.
Well, it was more along the lines of I thought he was going to come out and play super hard, super quick,
True.
and it wasn't him who did that.
Yeah.
He kind of just sat back and faded into the background.
I don't think it was just Rohan either. I think the whole house, they thought when they announced the twist, like, oh, Canada voted for 2 people. They were like, oh, which one of us? And then they bring out the other 2. And I think they were all a little shocked about that.
Yeah.
Anybody go up or down for you, Frank? You were passionate last week.
No, I'm really with Meg on this one. I don't feel like I've seen a lot from a lot of them. Like a lot of them, it's just so early to tell that I don't think I have a lot of new information to go on with a lot of these cats. I'll say a lot of the ones that came off as really douchey IG types. Mostly I'm talking about, I guess, Tashawn and maybe Jedson. They seem cooler than I thought they would be. They seem a little bit more likable. Verdict's still out on Kyle for me because I don't think we got to see any of him really. And then Josh wasn't quite as creepy as his intro.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're just talking about episode 1 and are going to move into episode 2, and it all kind of blends together for me, honestly. But Josh, if I was going to put anybody down, I would probably knock him down to the bottom of the list right now, just because I feel like he was so paranoid. And I think that he shared his paranoia and his fear and whatever and tried to do something about it when nothing really needed to be done. And that's kind of
I know that feeling.
That whole thing with.
I mean, actually, his paranoia was saved him in the end. So
it did, but I feel like it did call him out in a way, right? Because was it Julie that got up and said something about Josh and her like little speech thing? So like, I feel like it called him out in a way, and I don't think that he's going to get. I think he's going to continue to just be paranoid, and eventually that's going to be detrimental for him.
His social game is bad. That is definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get why Julie did that either. Like, if someone is actually pulling you aside to like tip you off of some info, I mean, granted, it's the Big Brother house. You never know if people are lying or whatever. But at this point in the game, I feel like it's a safe assumption if someone's going to come up to you and tell you your name is being thrown out by so-and-so, they're not lying to start crap on day 2. So if someone's going to actually bring you into the fold and give you information that you didn't have, why do you want to betray their trust and make a scene about it? Like, yeah, you know what? Everyone's name is going to get thrown out at a certain point in time. That's the nature of the game. So use that information wisely. And Julie didn't. And that's what, like, she played emotionally, which a lot of us said could easily happen. And it absolutely bit her in the ass.
She should have taken that information and like gone and instead of going and asking LaToya and whatever, there were other names floating around there that she knew were floating around, like Rohan and all that. She could have gone and put more of her effort into trying to get the numbers behind those names. And just keep in the back of your mind that, okay, LaToya said my name, so I'm not going to forget that, but I'm going to make it so that other people want somebody else out over me.
But she turned her ally into her enemy. Josh was actually trying to help her, and then she flips the whole thing and says, well, Josh, you're the bad guy. For what? For telling you your name's being thrown out? I just don't understand this line of thinking.
Not only that, but wasn't he the one that tried to throw out Rohan's name, and he was like, go talk to this one person, and then she went into the pantry and told like 5 people, including LaToya, who was not the right person to go and talk to about that. So, or about the like big or the Pretty Boys Alliance or whatever they were referring to, because she's actually working with 2 out of, the 2 out of the 3 that they were talking about. But he was trying to confide in her and I think start, a good bond and relationship with her, and she completely demolished it and her game.
She said it herself. She has a big mouth. That's just how some people are. They get a little bit of information and they have to tell the world. So she knew she blew up her game right off the bat.
I want to talk more about Josh because we did not see everything. I guess what happened the night before voting, so we didn't get to actually see it on the episode. I don't know if we're gonna get to see it on the episode, so we missed all the juicy stuff. But basically, Josh, even though his personality is way different, he is definitely posturing Patty because that is what he did to save himself. I guess he started being close to the guys. He got paranoid because they didn't talk to him for a day, so he thought there was the Pretty Boys Alliance. So he turned people against the guys, or tried to. And then when Julie turned on him, he turned on Julie and started a big old argument with Julie, where Julie then exposed all of her alliances. So Josh was going to be the vote, but Julie exposed her alliances. So Latoya, it was easy for Latoya to then push for Julie to go home. So Josh did save himself with his craziness.
Was that why the two other dolls voted against her? Because that, to me, I haven't watched any like live feed type stuff or anything outside the episodes, and that was surprising to me that they seem to have just made this alliance and then immediately turn their back on
Yeah,
her.
I think it was a combination of that, and I guess she told them that it was okay if they vote for her.
Yeah, that was the big thing, is her telling them to.
Like if she knew the numbers weren't there, then protect your friends, I guess. Like, I mean, don't make, don't hang them out. So
especially if she already kind of maybe did, allegedly. We didn't see it. I just heard all this talking on the live feeds about it.
Did you enjoy the feast? That was the big feast.
I mean, it was another Survivor thing.
I kind of laughed at the whole thing. I also kind of laugh at those that hate on slop. I mean, it's like 3-day-old oatmeal. I mean, probably not that bad, right?
It's the texture that looks terrible.
I'd probably still eat it.
It doesn't look bad enough to like gag or vomit somebody, or oh, woe is me, I can't go on, I have to eat slop. I'm sure it's not pleasant, but I'm with you, Days. Like
when I'm hungry, I'm hungry.
And they're allowed to like cook it and bake it and make it in different ways and add things to it, right?
Mm-hmm. And Kiefer seemed pretty. He seemed like he's a cook, right? He can cook pretty good. So we've seen before in many different seasons that those that can cook and create things out of slop can last longer than they should. So I hope that he uses that to his advantage.
I guess I'm gonna
it right out of that bucket though. Doing something, put some cinnamon in it or raisins or something. Can you add like that kind of stuff?
There's usually a list of what you can and can't.
Condiments, yeah.
I wish they'd go back to the peanut butter and jelly Big Brother days. And
why?
I think it added another level of like, if everybody's like kind of at this disadvantage of eating, and then you can do the food comps to gain different things. And I don't know. I just think if you're going to do the have not, then focus on like, show us what's happening with the have not instead of like in previous, I know this is more of a US thing, but they don't show us have not competitions or like really a lot of the time I'm confused on who's a have not and who's not. Do they do have not? Obviously they do, because they have that ballroom, which would suck.
Yeah.
Being in a ball. Oh my God.
They probably let a whole bunch of kids go in there and pee and poop into balls.
Not during COVID.
Could you imagine how sore you would be after like sleeping in that, or like having to be in there all night?
I don't think they've actually opened that up yet on the live feeds yet that I've seen.
But to the food competitions, I do miss those. I just disagree that they should bring the PB&Js back, because I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and I could live off them for forever. Right.
I mean, I would say the same thing, but I've never tried to only eat peanut butter and jelly for any significant amount of time. So
you got to change up the jellies.
I'm with you. I love that. I'd be like, I'll be a have not. Okay. PB&J.
I think it's the sleeping thing would be the worst part.
Yeah.
The cold showers, I think, are the worst part.
Oh yeah, that would get me.
I could probably sleep anywhere, but
I mean, they say have nots have an endless supply of watermelon delivered to them anyway. So
only one season of US.
That's a thing apparently.
I'm going to turn it over to you guys if there's anything in your notes that you want to talk about, because I just have feet things really that I want to talk about.
In episode 2, there were a couple things that stood out to me. First, in when we were going through the cast assessment, I thought Victoria might be a possible first boot, and I was glad to see that she agreed with that in the show. She said if she didn't win this, she was probably going home first. I like that she's self-aware. I actually think there's a lot of self-aware players in this game, and that's beneficial. And then I found it a bit ironic that Josh said that as part of a team, the goal should be to get the weakest out first when he was one of the first to drop in the competition.
Yeah, that was a dumb statement by him.
It was okay. I mean, these episodes, the episodes were all right. Yeah, I have more general feelings than anything else. Like, the cast is all right. This cast is all right. It's got potential.
I do like one of the alliances that is forming or has formed. I haven't watched the feeds. Jed and Tyshawn plus Latoya. I think that's really smart for the two guys because she is going to take the lead, and you would much rather have her out front making decisions, because if it falls apart, the two big guys are usually the targets, and to be able to put somebody out in front of them as a meat shield when normally the big guys would be the meat shields. So I thought that was really smart on their part.
Yeah, she is the one running that side of the game.
Yeah, I think it really benefits Latoya to be with those two because the three of them are going to be really strong. And I think Latoya might be overlooked for a while. And the guys are going to be the ones that are maybe targeted first. So I think it's going to get her, she can handle her own, but I think she's going to leave the like gruff part of everything to the guys. If they're going to win an HOH over her, I can see her allowing them to do that, to let her make some moves, but not be the one to get the blood on her hands type of situation. I
meant
she's a cop, Derek's a cop. They're going to be the same.
I meant more along the lines of if things blow up, like we saw with her and Julie in the bathroom where that conversation went sideways real quick. And that can get you in trouble really fast.
I thought Latoya played it off well, honestly.
I wrote in my notes, I loved her response to that question because she was just saying like, I'm in a vibe right now. I'm going to go get in the hot tub. I'm going to relax. I'm going to have fun. Like, I don't want to do this right now. I'm not going to get myself involved in this. And I thought that was perfect because she didn't confirm or deny what Julie was asking her. And when Julie was like, well, do you feel like I'm attacking you? She was like, no, I just want to go get in the hot tub. Like, I'm not trying to do this right now. So I think her response kept her out of the line of fire. She could have easily been like, yeah, I threw your name out. And then we have this big thing going on in the bathroom.
I agree. I mean, her response was, let's be real though. When you respond that way, it is a response. It's not as ambiguous as I think you're describing. Like when you react that way, there's clearly some truth to what's being said. Otherwise, you would just look at the person and say, you're ridiculous. I'm going to get in the hot tub. Come with me and we'll talk about it. Let's find out what's going on. She didn't want to deal with it. So I think that was a confirmation that she had said something. But I agree with you that she didn't allow it to she didn't do anything that would cause an immediate altercation to mess up her game. And I agree with you, Meg. I think the two big guys are always going to be targeted, or traditionally speaking, have always been targeted before like the girl in that, especially two jacked guys. Those were the two first picks. Let's not forget on both teams. Those were the two first picks. So I think those two guys are going to be targeted, but I think they're actually not in a bad spot because they got pieces on both teams.
Yeah.
It seems like they got some honeys on their side to kind of protect them.
I mean, I think they're really the only ones that are kind of crossing teams right now and having alliances on the other side, which is a super smart move to make. Obviously, I made that move first in our online survival. Get a connection elsewhere in the game.
That was me season 1.
Yeah, I mean, you have the dolls, which is kind of broken up now, because they voted out Julie. So I don't know if Austin and Braden will continue that, but they are on opposite teams. So we can see how that goes forward. But Tina, Beth, and Victoria seem to be kind of starting something together, but they're all on the same team. So it's really the only like across teams alliance that we see.
Oh my God. How does
shape right now?
How does Tina like
cross team alliances?
How does Tina handle those two? Those two were crazy.
I told you they were the two country girls. That's Tina and Beth. I knew those two would get along. I called that. No, Victoria's the wild card for me of those three. She is so city party girl type that I definitely wouldn't have seen her.
But she won. She showed her strength. So I think that's a good move for them. Get something, somebody different from us who showed that they can do well in competitions. I don't know about any other alliances because I only see what they've shown us on the show. So
Did you see the live feed clip of Beth dancing for like 10 whole minutes in the HOH room?
When
Like,
Raven was better, it's something.
The girl is kooky. The girl is kooky.
Did you guys have any thoughts on the Survivor Tribal Council questioning?
That was brutal. Do they always do that?
No.
That was absolutely brutal.
That's more of a Big Brother UK. If you've never seen Big Brother UK,
Wow.
It is full of that kind of stuff.
But it wasn't like Jeff asking questions. It was questions from other players. I was like, some of those were very targeted.
I thought they all gave pretty good responses.
Well,
Latoya had a great response that she's playing her brother, so of course she's throwing names out.
Oh yeah, the responses were on point.
So I mean, your name's gonna get thrown out. Like at some point in these games, unless you are just that in with everybody, your name is going to at least turn up once as a target. And if you can't handle that, and you're not willing to, adapt and adjust and try to slyly work things, then you're playing the wrong game. Which is why I loved what Latoya did there, because she could have with that conversation with Julie, she could have exploded. She could have caused the scene and immediately put targets on both their backs, like right from the jump. But she didn't. She played it cool, and she got away pretty unscathed while Julie caught the brunt of her own.
Mm-hmm. And when you have the house as a whole voting for 6 people that could potentially go home, you're going to run through those 6 names. How can you not? Let's start at the beginning and go one by one. What's the pros and cons of keeping them? Would we have the numbers or not to do that? Have you heard anybody else saying the same thing? Like, of course, you're going to run through all 6 of those people. You'd be stupid not to.
Well, I do kind of want to go over some live feed stuff, so people don't like spoilers, I guess now would be the time to not continue watching. But I kind of want to talk. You guys said Kiefer and Tina might not fit in, but they are actually in one of the main alliances right now. It is the Latoya, Jet, and Tashawn alliance. It also has an alliance with Kiefer and Tina, as well as Beth, even though they're kind of turning against Beth and Beth's kind of turning against them. But that is the main alliance that I see right now. And there is also, I think, Latoya and Tina could be quite the duo because they have a lot of strategy chalks every night so far.
I love that group, even though I love that group. It's got all my favorite douches and not my least favorite douche, Kyle, in it. And all my favorite girls. So yeah, I would love, and Kiefer, who's my dude. I love that group. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, but I hope that evolves because that.
But Jet and Tashawn are wild cards because they also have a thing with Austin, and Austin's kind of anti-Kiefer right now, so that's kind of the thing that's.
And why is that? I haven't seen any of that.
Well, I guess during this newest HOH comp, Kiefer was yelling about something, and I guess Austin won, so now Austin kind of wants Kiefer out, but the house wants Josh out, so I don't really know.
Yeah, your live feed update was really hinting towards Kiefer being safe for the most part.
Yeah, he should have the numbers. He is kind of cracking now that he's on the block, so he needs to calm down. But yeah,
it's easy to do, man. When you're in danger, it's so easy to crack up. It really is. Like anyone who hasn't played these kind of games before, it is true. When you hear your name, you're like, fuck. Like, who is it? Who is it? Like, I need to know now. I need to know what's going on right now. But I think Kiefer's likable enough. If he can keep that in control, he should be okay.
So yes, we have Austin's HOH and Kiefer and Josh are on the block?
Yes.
Okay.
Who's possible replacement?
I'm assuming Rohan. I mean, Victoria sees that Latoya is kind of running things, and I think Beth sees that too. But Austin made a deal with Latoya, so.
I mean, it seemed like Rohan's name was, being floated around in the first 2 episodes, and he kind of got, out of it. Is he doing the same thing right now? Does he know that his name is being floated, and is he working?
I feel like he does know. I mean, there's really nothing he could do right now until the veto is played, just to see how that turns out.
I'm
The
glad
best bet for him is to win the veto.
True. I don't know who's in the veto. I haven't watched today, so.
I'm glad I picked Latoya to win. It sounds like she's got her hands in all the cookie jars, though that can backfire.
Yeah, she's gonna have to play like a Tony from Kagayan game right now, because that's what she's playing. When you start this aggressive that early, you have to stay on that pace.
Everybody talks. It's gonna get back to eventually that you're working 5 sides,
That's a hard thing to do. It's so exhausting to be in that power player position, like right off the bat, and you just have to keep up with that and continue fighting for yourself, like on a day-to-day basis. That takes a lot. I mean, I can only imagine how much it takes out of you, and it's in an environment like that.
I mean, that's basically all I have, unless you. Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Y'all look into the whole Aunt Lydia thing? You agree? You see it?
I'll look it up right now, though.
Good start to the season, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how if I want the team twist to last too long the way it's going, but
are you
they're going to do a tribe swap.
Are you going to be upset with showmances?
I mean, it depends. Right now, it's like a quad triangle. It could get messy. So if it's messy, I like it. Because Kyle seems to like Austin, but Austin likes Jed, and Beth likes Jed. So right now it's like, yeah, I don't know if there's actually going to be a showman, and if there is, it could be drama.
I thought it was.
I predicted showmances, Jed and Beth.
Yeah, you did.
And Austin and
Tishawn.
I thought it was going to be Kyle and Beth, and I kind of, it really made me think that when they were kind of flirting at the beginning, where she asked him if he wanted to tie her up, he's like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah,
and
I know
that just went nowhere.
Yeah, Tom LaFeet, it seems like he's more into Austin, but Austin's in the Jetsons. So.
I feel like even when you looked at their profiles on the Big Brother Canada website, like before the season started, even before their videos were released, it had like their profiles, and I find it peculiar, and it kind of goes back to casting again, but I really think they cast for showmances, because that's one of the 4 questions they put. Would you be open to a showmance? Which leads me to believe, are we playing The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, or are we playing Big Brother? Because like some of the best showmances of all time came organically, because you just piled a bunch of real people together, 2 people hit it off, and that's what people enjoy seeing. Now I think that the reason they're putting 5 guys with abs and 3 to 4 seemingly Instagram models onto every season is because they're really trying to force a showmance. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if there's something to that. Like maybe if they've realized that their demographics are like, we have a showmance, our ratings are this much higher or something. I'm wondering if there's actually some sort of
there's probably some
science logic to it, because otherwise I think it's terrible if you're like, this isn't Love Island. So right. And I feel like that's what they're casting for sometimes.
But it also like became a strategy to play too, like, oh, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get myself involved in a showmance. And then I have this one person, if I can make this girl or this guy, fall in love with me or be infatuated with me, they'll never go against me, and I can use them to get numbers. And I mean, I think more on the guy side of things, that tends to be like a strategy. Once it was a coined term and you kind of saw what it could do if you did it the right way, it became a game move.
Yeah, Boogie and Will.
Yeah, but that was the original showmance, was Boogie and Will. Like chill town, baby. Let's go. Like,
But they're the ones that decided, well, let's get these girls to like us and start. They coined the showmance term, and then they used that to their advantage in the game.
you always have someone who's going to pull you on vetoes. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to it, but you could have that with like a bestie in there. I mean, look at like
good, but it's different when you're making out with the person at the end of the day.
Some friends make out.
They're not friends if they're making out.
Yeah, but there's almost more of a liability to the showmance too than the bestie thing because it's more outspoken. Like everyone sees it. You got guys like Derek and Cody can run the show. Nobody really knows that they're running the show because it's not as affectionately outward, we'll say.
Right.
But I feel like you can get the benefits of a showmance with just a friendship. And that's why I think the whole showmance thing is just overrated. But it makes me curious as to if they've noticed, well, fuck, we get 40% more viewers when we have a showmance on the season. In that case, as much as it pains me to say it, I can't hate production for doing
Maybe
it.
they're just really proud that they have a better track record than The Bachelor with couples actually lasted. So they're like, this is us. We're gonna beat The Bachelor.
Because back when Jordan, you got like even the floaters get your flow. Why am I drawing a blank on her freaking name?
Rachel and Brendan.
Rachel and Brendan. Yeah. Like they're still together.
Yeah, they have like 2 kids.
Yeah.
So annoying.
And they weren't casting for showmances at that point in time. That's whenever it just happened.
Tequila happened.
Just feels so fake now.
Well, I think it probably, I mean, you're right. If production is saying, well, when we have showmances, our ratings are higher. I mean, it could make viewers feel more of an emotional connection towards players in the game. And they want to see not only where they end up in the game, but where they end up with each other. And it adds like an extra layer for people watching.
No, I feel that. But so many of these showmances suck. Like you look at like Fessy and Haley and then even Pike from BB Can and the girl, and then Crazy Cody and Jessica from Big Brother US, the sociopath. And that was entertaining because he was just so fucking weird. But
so was she. That was an organic showmance, and they're now married with kids too.
That was an organic showmance, actually, because he's weird. Like, he's really out there.
My favorite part of that one was when he called her that other girl's name. I don't even remember her name. Early on in their little showmance, she called her the other girl's name. I hope that happens with this quad triangle going on BB Can right now.
It adds some juice. I get it, man. I don't hate it. I think it's extra forced is all I mean. It just feels extra forced.
Oh, and they definitely catch it because Austin has said on the feeds, they keep asking her, so who's gonna be the showmance?
Mm.
Well, luckily, our girl Latoya said absolutely no showmances for her. She is all business.
And she's still running the boys right now, honestly.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to think Austin might be the only girl who gets in it. Like there's gonna be one showmance this year, and it's gonna be somebody in Austin, maybe somebody in Beth, but probably somebody in Austin.
It'll be her very first boyfriend.
We get that's the selling point. We get to see it happen.
Mm.
Oh. It's the sound of the eagles overhead. Oh. No, it's first boyfriend.
I swear, if we see another proposal at the finale, like Swaggy C and what's her name,
Bailey.
Can't deal.
I don't think this is the group that's going to go that way.
This is the group where Kyle's going to have to announce he's a daddy at the finale because
Wow.
Any final thoughts?
I'm liking it. Big change for me switching over from US to Canada. I like it. They seem real.
And everybody's playing. That's the best part.
Mm-hmm.
Even if some of them are playing kind of dumb right now, like Austin has HOH thinking she could keep her out, even though she doesn't have the numbers. But But I guess she's used to watching US where
Hey.
the HOH says this is who we're targeting, and then they have the votes to put them out.
There's one thing you should know in the Big Brother house. Don't go against, I was gonna say America, but don't go against Canada. You don't go against the viewers because it's gonna fuck you in the end.
Because they do give the viewers some power quite frequently. But that's a good reason to get those viewer favorites out. But I agree. I mean, I didn't know that's who she had put up before this podcast, so that was news to me. But I do think she's shooting a little above the rim with that shot. Like, you don't take shots at players that are well connected unless you know you're gonna hit, because otherwise you created more enemies than you did anything else, and you just completely you used your own HOH to ultimately start your own demise.
Yeah, and like I do think she maybe can get some of the numbers to like tie the vote, but even then she's gonna have to really put herself out there and make herself a target to do that. Well, I guess we'll see how this week plays out. Thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you all next week.